Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday, and welcome to today's NASCAR Cup Series coverage as they have risen, I guess, at the Darlington Raceway for Throwback Weekend, following a late night last night from the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series stream. Appreciate those of you that tuned in for the late going of last night's stream. Actually, technically ended earlier this morning, and here we are fast forwarding now to the start of practice and qualifying for the Cup Series. 400-mile race tomorrow for this 1 1/3 mile oval at Darlington, South Carolina. And again, it is throwback weekend, so we get to see all these classic throwback schemes, at least for the Cup Series, on the racetrack for the first time here this morning. So we'll get some previews of those, obviously. Maybe some background stories as to exactly not only what the throwback is, but maybe some stories from Mike Joy's perspective through this weekend as you get to listen to some of the commentary as well. The practice and qualifying session will be on Fox Sports 1 here this morning. 2 hour time frame from 10:30 a.m. to about 12:30 p.m. this afternoon Eastern time. So again, appreciate everybody that has tuned in for the start of the stream. Going to get the raw feed up and going for you guys right now. So we have our live leaderboard. And this is going to be a fun one. Darlington's put on some great races over the last when has Darlington not put on a great race at this point? Especially with as old as the surface is. A lot of tire wear, a lot of slipping and sliding. Very sunny morning. Track temp's going to be relatively cooler now compared to what they will be later in the afternoon for the Xfinity race, as well as tomorrow afternoon for the Cup race. But still should be relatively slick with this abrasive surface. A lot of tire wear to be had this weekend. We saw about 3 seconds of fall off over a full run in the truck race last night on the longer green flag run. And those green flag runs weren't even extremely long. They were about 40 to 50 laps at the most. And if that, we still saw 3 seconds of fall off. I don't know if we'll see quite 3 seconds of fall off in the Cup Series because these tires don't seem to fall off as quickly as they do in the other series. But we will probably see multiple seconds, and we will be seeing more than likely multiple pit stops in each stage as a result of that throughout tomorrow. Whether that be a long green flag runs or pretty much any caution that comes out, we'll be seeing some pit stops as well. So got to take care of your race car today, so you give yourself a good starting spot. It's very difficult to make passes at Darlington and work your way through the field. We saw last night Nick Sanchez, who had one of the fastest trucks, start at the very back, and he still got the second, never led a lap despite qualifying on the pole. So we know we had a fast vehicle going into that one. As far as this Cup Series race here today goes, once they come back from the commercial break, cars will be on the track for the first time, 10:35 Eastern time. We're set to begin this practice session. 20 minutes for Group A and Group B, per usual for the ovals in the NASCAR Cup Series, splitting the groups up for practice. So again, we will have half the field in Group A, another half the field in Group B, 20 minutes for each session, and then we'll get into qualifying right afterwards, single car, and just one lap for qualifying, and I'll explain the qualifying procedure when we get to that point in about a half hour to 45 minutes from now. Waiting to see the full list of drivers who will be in Group A for practice. You'll get to see that obviously on our timing and scoring sheet, and then when the Group B cars go out, you'll see them blend in with the Group A. We'll have our overall practice times. It's going to be fun to kind of take a look at the fall off. Definitely got to keep a close eye on things. 1 for 1 of my predictions this weekend already. I predicted the winner of the truck race last night. I took Ross Chastain, even though he only led the final 3 laps of the race. He still got the job done. And so there you have it. We'll see if I can go 2 for 2 with the Xfinity race a little bit later on. But no practice of qualifying for the Xfinity Series this weekend. It was rained out yesterday. The only practice qualifying today is for the Cup Series, and then of course the Xfinity race will be at 1:30 p.m. Eastern this afternoon, so a few hours from now. Cars are pulling off of pit road for practice, as I'll send you now to the Fox coverage. As usual, Mike Joy, Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer in the booth. Again, on FS1 is where you can watch the visuals.
So good to see Eric Jones. It's been one of your best representations here, but doing driving for feel good. Just it's changed quite a bit. We did a different seat and a different insert than what I had before for a number of reasons, but change up makes you like that. So it's going to learn a lot and see how it all feels. Really haven't changed how I've sat in the car in a long time. So be a little different, but back in a place I like to go, and excited to just hop back in and get out there. Good to see you back. Good luck. Thank you.
That 160-mile-an-hour impact into the safer barrier caused a hairline fracture of a vertebrae for Eric. So a couple of weeks off, he's been at the track working with the team, and now he's ready to go.
That's what I love about what our sport does, is it progresses from situations like that and makes people better. We hate that Eric Jones got hurt, but I think it's always a wake-up call to all the drivers. You heard Eric change the style of seat that he sits in. He changed his seating position. A lot of that will probably have to do with the way that his pelvis would sit in the other seat. He might have been crouched down too far. The angle of his pelvis is probably too much, or too much arch in his back, or whatever it is. But that's a Hendrick seat. That's a seat like a lot of drivers use. And every driver is different in the way that they are built, and make a lot of different styles of seats. So this will be interesting for him.
Did you see him look over and check that? Now, obviously, you can see there's just not much room for that helmet to move side by side, and you can tell he was getting used to it right there, Jim.
Yeah, I think you can vouch for this, Clint. This is going to be an interesting session for him because of not being in the car for a couple of weeks, but sitting at a different angle and doing the things different at speed is a lot different than shop.
Heck yeah, your office changed, man.
So get used to it. 3 or 4 laps. Be a lot. As soon as that thing jumps sideways one time, it's the last thing you're thinking about. You got a new thing to chase. Keeping that car underneath of you.
On board with Tyler Reddick.
You see Tyler Reddick down on the apron. Yeah. For me, my preparation in the past, we would not even run the bottom of the racetrack, Clint, because you want to save the tires. It's very enticing to go down and be below the apron, do all those things. But I think if you can be very regimented in how you drive the racetrack and where you put that car is very important. So if you can run higher earlier, it's like this right here. If you can run up high, it's going to save the tires, because down on the bottom and being able to turn the car is just so hard on that regular tire.
Well, if you tell me you want to be higher on the racetrack, I got you gun. You ran along with him right there. Nobody runs higher better than Tyler Reddick.
You'll see some guys downshift into turn one as they get later in the run. Some guys not downshift like Tyler did right there. He comes off of turn 2 right there.
And right back to the wall.
Got to carry a lot of speed off of turn 2, but you got to have that wheel straight when you get to that bump off the exit of 2.
Well, you can see the effect of that. I mean, his body moved an inch.
Yeah.
When he came across that bump at turn 2. We'll see it again.
Yeah, let's stay and watch him run over this bump one more time, and you'll be able to stay focused on him over here and watch as he crosses this bump.
Getting ready to come to it. You got to throttle back up through this section right here.
Oh,
It pops him up out of the seat. And you ever say on the racetrack right there, it is kind of like a jump. That patch is actually higher than the straightaway asphalt. And with the way that corner has been repaved, it really rips you around the corner, and then it almost launches you out there and shoots you out of that corner on the exit.
And everybody's setup's different. Not everybody's going to ride it. That car rode pretty good over that bump. Some of these things, if they're too low to the ground, it can give you fits and get you in trouble. I saw that last night with Kyle Busch.
Michael McDowell with a throwback paint scheme for his sponsor, Long John Silver's. He has the fastest lap of this practice so far and has a new deal for next year. Sports.
Man, Long John Silver's, when I was little, that was my favorite.
That was their logo. Look up on the side.
So out of hand, Kevin, I'd ask for extra Krispies. I don't want it. Just give me extra Krispies.
I've also seen you look like that pirate a few mornings.
I should have seen that before. Also look like that pirate. Hey, there's a lot of fun to be had at this racetrack. A lot of campers. This is a good place to tailgate. Bring your family, tailgate, have a lot of fun in the infield of this racetrack and all the surrounding areas. A lot of good campgrounds.
Seats I gift right there. I will admit, this is the first racetrack that I've driven into and was like, man, oh no.
Starting to miss it.
Well, this is just such a great racetrack. You've ran Goodyear.
So now, wait a minute. I would say you were preconditioned for this. Didn't you go fitted for a seat this week?
I did.
All right.
Yeah.
You're preconditioned.
I am.
You're ready to get back.
You're right. It's
and it'll happen at Bloodsport.
it's interesting to drive this racetrack, and I always felt like I could make a difference here more than other places, especially after you got to qualifying in the first few laps of the race, because the racetrack changes, the tires fall off, you gotta put the car in the right spot, high, low, when you pass, how do you get through traffic? There's just so many things that go into winning this race, and today is a tough day because you have a short amount of time to get a good read on your car, and you got to run it. You got to run it long enough to get the fall off and understand what you need to do as a driver. And then you got to right back into qualifying mode to go run fast for one lap.
Let's listen to Ty Gibbs' radio.
Yeah, Clint. I love the fact that they told him not to worry about lap time. Because I think if you worry about lap time, you got to worry more about rhythm than you do speed.
100% balance in this race car. And I tell you what, Gibbs has really good balance. I've already seen it 10 laps into these runs. And this guy right here, keep an eye on William Byron. This 24 car has that balance, has the speed on the long run. That's what I want to see at Darlington, that long run speed.
Yeah, and I really like the way he went through 3 and 4. I think that's the style that fits his car. Not on the apron right there. Back up the hill. As you see the race go on, you'll see it get a little higher on the entry to turn 1 to kind of open that entry up to be a little easier on the tires. Kyle Larson's really good at that. But I like this would be my preferred line if I was driving up the racetrack and then come back down a little bit on the exit.
12 and a half to go. We're almost halfway through this 20-minute session for Group A. Michael McDowell, Ty Gibbs, Chris Buescher. Our fastest, and Buescher has the fastest 10 consecutive laps so far.
Already over about a 10 to 12 lap run, we've seen tire fall off of anywhere between 1.2 to 1.5 seconds in this practice session. Michael McDowell is currently at the top of the leaderboard. You're not going to see this leaderboard really change at all for the rest of at least Group A practice, due to the fact that we do see as much tire wear as we do, and a lot of these teams are pretty much going to run just one long run in this practice session, get a good feel for how their long run cars will be with the amount of tire wear that we are seeing here at Darlington once again. The 18 drivers in this order by lap time, their fastest lap time, I should say, are in Group A. So again, Michael McDowell is at the very top of the charts. His fastest lap is a 29.022, 169.444 mile per hour average, which is actually really fast. It was on a second lap of his run. Ty Gibbs, second fastest right now with a 29.173, just over a tenth and a half behind McDowell's fastest lap. Chris Buescher, another Ford, up in the top 3 right now in third. Chris Burdell fourth, and William Byron is fifth. Sixth place for Joey Logano, Eric Jones 7th, Corey LaJoie 8th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 9th, and Martin Truex Jr. is 10th. Noah Gregson's 11th quickest, John Hunter Nemechek 12th, Tyler Reddick 13th, Ryan Preece 14th, Derek Kraus 15th, 16th for Justin Haley, Alex Bowman 17th, and Kaz Grala is 18th. Yeah, 29.0 is really, really fast at this racetrack. How slick it is. Obviously a green racetrack to start things off. I don't know if the rubber from last night would have really stuck around all the way through the night. I would say maybe to a certain extent it would have, because I don't think there was any rain overnight after the truck race into the early morning hours before the start of this practice session. And the fact that the Truck Series practice session or race, last night ended at about 12:30 Eastern time. At least our stream ended about 12:30 Eastern time. So a little after midnight, the race ended. And we started this practice session only a little over 10 hours after the fact. So maybe a little bit more grip out of the gate here, which it'll be interesting to see if the fall off in the tire wear over the course of like a 15, 20, 25 lap increment will be different from Group A to Group B. I am very interested to see that. Like Michael McDowell's last lap he just ran was a 30.718. That's 1.7 seconds slower than his fastest lap on lap 2. And we're only 16 laps into his current tire stint. Everybody's ran 15 plus laps 15 to 17 laps, pretty much everybody has ran thus far. And William Byron does seem to have the best long run speed. His last lap on lap 15 was a 30.5. Everybody else around him 30.7, 30.8, and 30.9s.
Yeah, I've been monitoring some of the data off of Mark Fitzgerald in his 19 fall. Right now, he's run 18 laps. He's 10th quickest, but almost since lap one, compared to William Byron, compared to Michael McDowell, he has been basically almost bottoming the brake pedal out in turn 3 and 4, getting into turn 3. He's been over 6 of pressure where I looked at William Byron, and this was kind of comparing lap 12 to lap 12 between the two of them. William Byron was down around 475 pounds, so Truex used a lot of brake getting into turn.
Yeah, and that's not abnormal. Say that that's, there's definitely a couple of different styles. When you run that high line like Martin is running, you want to get it and throttle back up to get to the racetrack. So the one thing that I don't like about that is just the fact that, it's probably going to heat the tires up. But you see the difference in brake pressure right here. And that's like 125 pounds difference, but that's definitely going to take a toll on the heat and the tires and the things that are happening. But you can also see he's driving it in a little bit deeper, so he's having to use a little bit more brakes.
And slower to the throttle in both corners.
And you'll notice that you have this arch of William Byron, and then you have this kind of a mountain looking shaped brake. Those are just two different styles of braking.
It shows me one starter than the other. If you're using more brake getting into 3 and slower to the throttle, that car's tighter.
Well, let's check with Jamie Little.
The man of the day, Rob Chastain, got the big Truck Series win last night. It was technically today. It was at 12:30 a.m. Ross, you celebrated like that was your first career win, eating the watermelon, smashing it. What did that one mean to you, and how can it help you through the weekend as you try to win on Sunday?
Darlington. I don't know how else to describe it. It's been my favorite track. When I was 20th place Xfinity car, with crashing here, spinning out, all this stuff, it's always been my favorite by far. So, to win with these motorsports 5 years today, we won our first race in Kansas in 2019. This place was so special after getting my opportunity I got to change. They changed my life. That opportunity to have 8 here. And to do it with our group, our sponsor, with Clinton Don't With It, with South Carolina. They started racing home last night. And from the business side, that's so cool when my partner did really win everything. And the same people I'm at 9 in yesterday at the local race. We're in victory lane Friday night. So I don't know how it affects me getting in the cup car, though, other than pit road, restarts, wheel spin, all this stuff. I was really focused on making sure my second and third gear upshift was the right direction last night, if they're opposite. Yeah, now it's back in the cup, and all the S&P y'all were just showing, I love it. You're showing that. That's the same stuff I'm looking at. Minus the steering. I'm looking at all the squiggly steering lines. That's a whole nother level trying to watch drivers get around Darlington in today's stuff cars.
Well, it was fun last night. Congratulations.
Wow, Chris Buescher right near or at the top of just about every list.
Another look at that. Oh my gosh, Kevin.
Now, this is the official image that NASCAR used to determine the winner. The red line is the front of Kyle Larson's line. The black line is the front of Chris Buescher's. Now,
Which is officially still a heartbreak. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
We officially educated a lot of people through the week on how that camera actually worked, and this start finish line doesn't really mean much other than it's
which is populated by the computer from the scoring loops and transponders.
Yeah.
It lit up 17.5. If this race, those 2 spots would have been left blank until the officials made a decision who the winner was. So, had that not been populated with the 17 at the top, we might have had quite a bit less confusion.
Hey, as this sport continues to get more and more competitive, you're going to see more of those. That's not going to be the last horse race finish. Get down to.
I love the tweet. Hey, Kentucky Derby, hold my beer.
That was
Look at this picture.
Uh-oh. That's a little more than a kiss, too.
Yeah. Well, the good news is these cars are pretty tough, but that was definitely you do that in the wrong way and it catches that right rear tire. I think so.
Never even checked.
Yeah, and that's just the way that the drivers have kind of migrated to understanding that this car is tough. It's when I wrecked this car the first time at California Speedway, I backed it into the wall. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And I backed it in the wall. I got out and I saw him towing it while I was sitting in the infield care center. I'm like, why did I get out of that?
I didn't even get out.
Yeah, they put a new bumper cover on it. We raced it.
Yeah. That's because before that thing would have been totaled. The backup part, inevitable. We learned that with Xfinity cars. Those first few years they raced around here with a composite body, I was just amazed by what they could get away with. Back in the day, sheet metal bodies, you could touch the wall like that, game over.
This guy right here. Yeah, this guy right here, Christopher Bell, is fast, and his car hangs on for a long time. I love the fact that he ran it out. That's the only thing I don't like about what the 24 did. They came down pit road and kind of broke that run up, and maybe that was their plan. But I always like to run these things out as far as you can run them, so you have a good understanding of cambers, heights, everything, what the fall off is going to be. Daytime race this week.
Well, the highlights making long runs. We're going to compare Christopher Bell's third lap of this session, which was his fastest 23rd lap. Michael McDowell, we're going to compare here. Lap 3, fastest lap of this session to lap 23.
Yeah, and what this does is gives you a really good reference of just the difference in grip in the tires, and that's all that is different. Is just the fall off in the tires. But as a driver, you got to have a toolbox built in to say, okay, I need to run this fast at the beginning of the run. I need to let off here, and then you need to have a whole different set of let off points as you get later in the run. Different style driving, like we saw earlier. You have different brake traces that you can use, different throttle, trail the throttle, stab the throttle, all different kinds of things. But it's a massive difference.
Well, that's where I was going to go with Byron. Right? Why did he pull off? Because we know, regardless, you pull off this racetrack in practice, when you go back out on the cycling tires, the car is completely different. Something tells me the way that thing took off as fast as it was, he didn't like the direction it was going, needed an adjustment, decided to do so for that very thing. Long run. Larry, what do you got?
Well, what I like about a long run right here is when I look at the stages for the long, they're 90, 95, and 108. Going back and watching this race from a year ago, talking to a lot of crew chiefs. Right now, depending on cautions, the tentative plan is split stage 1 and a half, split stage 2 and a half, but split stage 3, that longer stage, in the thirds. We're going to go back racing with about 100 laps to go in that final stage. So if you can make a 30 to 35 lap run right now, that's going to simulate what you're going to be running in that final stage.
Well, I like that too, Larry. And sometimes it's not comfortable. You have a little hiccup or something go wrong, but it's always better, even if you're off the pace, to just run this run out to whatever lap you think you can run to. But if you run to that 35, 40 lap mark, you have a good idea of what the fall off is going to be. So the most important thing is you got to get our heights right. We got to get as much air out of the tires as possible.
Your point, Gibbs, Logano, and Bell, 33 laps each. Now Gregson and Nemechek and Rala, along with Jones, Haley, and Priest, all right around that 30-plus lap mark for this session.
So everybody's talking, including me. We're looking at it. I'm looking at the graph, what we look at lap times and the fall off. Moreover, this 20 car is lights out better than anybody. Now, it doesn't show up that good and present well on the best consecutive 15, 20, and this is why. Every now and then, he'll hit lap traffic and bail out. Early in the run, he bailed out and she buckled out and it was way off the pace. But when it comes to putting a lap down, being in clean air, and doing what he needs to do on the racetrack, this car is, in my opinion, the fastest on the track.
Yeah, and you see, he was going to come to pit road right there. Joey Logano came to pit road in front of him. So you got to have a good idea on these old tires. It's so hard to get the car slowed down. But typically, I would use my same flat off spot on the back straightaway and just act like you're driving into that corner like normal, like Christopher Bell's getting ready to do coming down the back straightaway. He's going to come into turn 3, hit the brakes, stay up on the racetrack, and then turn down into the pits.
Checker flag will be out this time by, or rather the red and black flags, to end this session. And the old pirate, Michael McDowell, has won through a practice with a lap of 29.02. 169.4 miles an hour. Noah Gregson with the best 20 lap consecutive average.
There you have it. Fastest in Group A practice. Michael McDowell again at 29.022 and just over 169 mile per hour average. So Group A practice is done. Group B practice is just about to begin. We'll go through the top 10 as of right now through Group A. Again, Michael McDowell, fastest overall so far. Ty Gibbs second. Chris Buescher third. Christopher Bell fourth. William Byron fifth. Joey Logano sixth. Eric Jones seventh. Corey LaJoie eighth. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. ninth, and Martin Truex Jr. in 10th. We'll take our first ad break of the stream. You're listening live on KRC to the Goodyear 400 practice session for the NASCAR Cup Series. Robert Perkel, Arthur O. NASCAR Zero, Nat Fisher, Savi Dayro Racer, JoJo, Ashton G, Wade Solinsky, Dan Bowers. Thanks for tuning into the stream here this morning. Reddick and Truex is lacking. Yeah, Toyota's out of the gate seem to be a little bit behind. Some of them. I mean, Gibbs and Bell are up there. I think they'll be all right overall. Hamlin should be pretty quick. Definitely one of his better racetracks, and he is just red hot this season. Hamlin has led a lap in every race so far this year through the first 13 races. We are halfway through the regular season for the Cup Series, so that's very impressive. With being halfway through the regular season for the Cup Series, let's take a look at those regular season standings. Kyle Larson comes into the day coming off the second win of the year and the closest finish in NASCAR history last weekend at Kansas. 29-point cushion over Martin Truex Jr. He was 15 points ahead each of the last 2 weeks, so he expands that points lead by 14 points. Chase Elliott's within one race worth of points, still third in the standings, 55 out of first, and Denny Hamlin, 56 points out of first, is also within one race worth of points. Only driver of those four without a win is Truex. Larson has led 633 laps already this season in just 13 races, 6 stage wins, most of any driver as well, and he also has the most top fives with 6. All of those top 5 finishes were his top 10s, and he's only, I think, one behind in the top 10 list category from the most this season as well. So very good year for Larson. If he is not running up front, he is having just a bad day, and if he is running up front, he is up there at least competing for the win with a top 5, if not getting it. And you could probably say the same really with Denny Hamlin in those regards. We'll go through the rest of the playoff standings once we get into the next commercial break. Got some cars that got up against the wall. Looks like Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott's got some scrapage. We saw, of course, Bubba Wallace, I believe. Or sorry, Tyler Reddick. Reddick had some scrapage of the wall. And our Group B cars are on the racetrack now for the first time. All those drivers in Group B would include Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Zane Smith, Todd Gillen, Ryan Blaney, Bubba Wallace, Austin Cindric, Russ Chastain, Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon, Daniel Suarez, Chase Briscoe, Brad Keselowski, Josh Berry, Carson Hocevar, Todd Gillen, Harrison Burton, and Denny Hamlin. That's probably my favorite throwback this weekend. That's the name of the mascot, Corny?
It's right. Free. Since an old junior ski. I was a national free ski game.
Skiing, I saw the video of them surprising Dale Jr. Who loves stuff like this? That makes it even more fun.
And yeah, there's a look at it.
Boy, he was selfish. Super speedways, wasn't he? Very, very selfish.
2014.
A lot of races. Daytona, better than our name.
This is what I love about Throwback Weekend, when you have schemes that make you think, make you remember, or make somebody remind you of what these cars look like. And
This is when the teams do a good job. You wouldn't tell the other teams you did a bad job.
Yeah.
You didn't participate correctly, and now haters, your car's not going to get shown on TV as much.
Don't be a fun hater. The throwback theme is optional, and I know some sponsors don't embrace it. Some teams aren't crazy about it, but I think it adds a whole lot.
Well,
enjoyment of the sport.
Absolutely. That's what this weekend is supposed to be about. And if you are one of those sponsors or teams who didn't embrace it, shame on you.
And like Hendrick involved the body in doing this. Ryan Grease has his modified championship scheme, and he brought his co-owner from that year, Eric Sanderson, down here to Darlington to be part of this weekend. That's Lim.
That's what I love about Throwback Weekend. We owe a great amount of debt to the pioneers that paved the way for all of us, Kevin and I, to have an opportunity, a shot at this sport at the cup level.
That's
Mind you, this is a perfect racetrack for it. This is where it all started. Old school racetrack, old school racers.
now this is a throwback to an early Glenn Wood NASCAR modified that Glenn drove, that Leonard Wood prepared. And it's that same paint scheme as applied to a new Ford Mustang and not a 30s Ford Coupe.
Well, the Wood brothers have plenty of throwback schemes, so
Wow.
I'm glad they dug in the archives a little bit. But these drivers are facing the same thing, and as we look back to the first session and see what we feel like is probably one of our better cars, Christopher Bell, we have some graphs to look at on that side. These drivers are faced with drastically different style of driving. You can really see it right here. Less brake in turn one. That'll apply to qualifying. As you go into turn three, this throttle right here really changes. You got to be really easy on the throttle. The white is the white is the slow lap, and yellow is the fast lap. So you see more throttle in these sections on new tires. So as a driver, you got to be able to know where your car is at, where you're at on new tires, have a good style, and let it lift points, all the styles that differ from start to finish in the run.
New group, new opportunity, some same old names. Let's go to Chris Buescher. Jamie?
Like a lot of hearts broke for this guy after finishing second in the closest finish in NASCAR history. Chris, all the interviews this week, all the video footage, all the people talking. What's it been like for you being part of that?
I think what it's really pretty neat to have a heck of a race there at the best. So and the crunch something can come out here. Right now it was good fire on speed like once. Speed stayed with us really well. So biggest highlight we took out of it was speed from Kansas, and I'm trying to make sure we can apply it here, and off to a pretty decent start so far. Group A is going to be faster here in Darlington, but you got to read on right here shortly.
Got a fast hot rod in some player with saying that's 10 lap and 16 lap in Group A.
Well, Jamie, yes, it's not win, but Ford has 6 second-place finishes this weekend. RFK Racing has 4 of the 6. Chris Buescher has 2 of those 4. I'm reminded of a NASCAR banquet at the Waldorf. Dale Earnhardt in the aisle pacing before he went up on stage. And I go, "Hey, champ, what's the matter?" And he looked at me and he goes, "Second place sucks."
Yeah. Well, what this car right here doesn't suck, Mike. Denny Hamlin is really good. We expect him to be good at this racetrack. But I want you guys to notice something. When you look at this whole group right here from the first session, this is what we talk about. This is the fastest car in this group, Denny Hamlin. He's 9th quick overall. To me, this is a better group to be in. And I always want to be a Group B, but at this racetrack, it's a better group to be in because you're going to get a better read on your car with the rubber correct on the racetrack, the rubber, getting all that truck rubber off. But these fast cars right here that went in the first group had that really clean racetrack. So I feel like they get a little bit of a false read because it's free speed.
And dirt racing, come on, they packed the track for us.
That's right. They did pack the track, yeah.
But look right behind him, Bubba Wallace. You look right here on the speed chart, you see him 11, then you don't have to look far for the 5 car. There he is, folks. Kyle Larson, last week's winner. Stole the show by a nose.
Mac? Yeah, I was just looking at Denny Hamlin's radio and what they've been doing, and they stress just the feedback. In that 5 car is entering turn 3 higher than you are, but he's exiting lower. So even though Hamlin's faster, they're giving him feedback about a guy that gets around this place pretty good. In fact, Larson won the last time we were here back in September.
Well, that's classic Kyle Larson. I don't know how many times I've heard that at every racetrack. Kyle Larson's getting in the corner higher. Yep. Sure is.
Saw that. You want me to? I'll be in the wall.
See you next week.
Another full screen commercial break during practice session for Group B now. Just over 10 minutes to go, so a little over half this session remains. Michael McDowell still at the very top of the charts. Each of the top 8 are actually all Group A cars. Denny Hamlin fastest of Group B with a lap time of a 29.313. As you heard from Harvick, maybe a little bit better gauge of the drivers in Group B with the truck rubber coming off the racetrack from last night and the cup rubber being on the racetrack, get a better feel for maybe a longer run in this group versus Group A. But nonetheless, Hamlin very quick. Larson, I think, third fastest of this group, and Bubba Wallace second fastest of Group B. So far, your top 10 overall has Michael McDowell out in front, Ty Gibbs second, Chris Buescher third, Christopher Bell fourth, William Byron fifth, Joey Logano sixth, Eric Jones seventh, Corey LaJoie eighth, Denny Hamlin ninth, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 10th. Fast lap of a 29.022 still holds, and I wonder if that's going to be around what we'll see in qualifying for some of the fastest speeds. That's going to be fun to watch. Drivers really put their cars on the edge here on a very edgy track as it is, trying to set the fastest lap they possibly can. Take a look at those playoff standings. I already kind of talked about the regular season standings a little bit, but we'll go more in depth with the playoff standings. One win and you're in to qualify automatically for the playoffs. But on top of that, we do have several drivers, obviously, with multiple wins. You get 5 playoff points per race win. For stage win, you get 1 additional playoff point. Regular season champion gets 15 playoff points as well. The drivers who are locked into the playoffs with a win this season would include 3 wins apiece for Denny Hamlin and William Byron. Hamlin's wins coming at Bristol, Richmond, and having a brain fart here. Dover, just a couple weeks ago. Bristol, Richmond, Dover for Denny Hamlin. 3 wins for William Byron coming at COTA. Of course, the Daytona 500 at the start of the year, and Martinsville. Larson just picked up his second win of the season. He's the only driver with 2 wins. Kansas and Las Vegas on the mile-and-a-half racetracks are his wins. 1 win apiece for Chase Elliott, who his win came at Texas. Tyler Reddick's win at Talladega. Another one of those close photo finishes we've had this season. So far, we are sitting at 8 different winners, if I do my math correctly here. Counting just to make sure. See, I was wrong. 7. 7 different winners so far this season. So 9 drivers can still lock themselves into the playoffs with wins. 13 races to go in the regular season yet, so still sitting pretty good there. With plenty races left remaining. Actually, 12 races into the season. So after this weekend, we'll be halfway through the regular season for the Cup Series officially, and then we'll be at the All-Star break, obviously, next weekend with North Wilkesboro, so no points will be on the line there. The cutoff line is pretty tight still. I got to go down to the 15th place driver in the actual driver standings because Daniel Suarez would be 18th in points. The win puts him into the playoffs. So Keselowski is the last driver in on points. He's 4 points to the good over Bubba Wallace. Wallace the first driver out. Joey Logano is 18 points to the negative. Noah Gregson's 19th in the point standings and had a 30-point penalty already this season. If it wasn't for that 30-point penalty, he'd be even closer. But he's a little over 1 full race worth of points out of 16th for the playoff standings. Austin Cindric is 20th as of right now in the overall driver standings, 1 point behind Gregson. Drivers just on the inside of the points cutoff line. Chase Briscoe would be 15th in the playoff grid. He's 7 points to the good. Christopher Bell luckily has a win, otherwise he'd be right on the bubble. Kyle Busch lost some ground after, he would have lost some ground after a spin late last week, but he ended up still getting a top 10 with an 8th place finish. So overall, still a solid point day for Busch. He comes into this race 31 points to the good. And Chris Buescher, after just getting a runner-up finish last week, if he could have been on the right side of that photo finish, he'd be in the playoffs, but instead, he's still right there on the bubble. Currently 12th rather, in the playoff standings, but he is 33 points to the good. So that is an update on the playoff standings coming into this weekend at Darlington for tomorrow's race.
Career.
That's it makes but it's a difficult corner when he just so
Car doesn't get the best of that guy very often.
it's flexible.
Race where he had a solo spin.
Silver, yes. Yeah, way to go right there. Simple spin. That was uncharacteristic for sure.
Well, we talked about the 12 car. You see this wall right here? It's crooked. So many people here. This is where he hit the wall earlier. When you long turn 1 and 2 Clint, I always felt like you couldn't get off of it.
Man, you're telling me the wall's crooked from everybody hitting it over the years? I think they were just a little bit crooked, maybe sideways when they built it.
I don't know about that.
Look at that. You can't tell me that that's not a mistake. Do you think Trippetti hit it 100 times right there and just bent it out of the way? It's just a safety barrier that's missing when they put this direction. Big full straight here. This is not. That's not just a nice gradual exit.
This is very rare, but Clint does have a valid point. The exit of turn 4 is definitely the shape of the outside wall is not the shape of the racetrack. When you get to that lake center and start straightening that exit out, if you follow that wall, you're gonna hit that wall.
And I tell you why. I just showed you.
Yep. It's a rare win.
Rare win for
Clint.
I tell you what's even more rare. You know why it's that way? Well, you ain't messing with my fishing pond, right? Mike tells the story.
Oh, goodness.
It's your favorite every year.
You know, Harold Crazy, I learned this last night. Our chief spotter, Kevin Florida, was sitting with a gentleman who was his nephew, who said that Brazington took a bunch of fan belts, made a drawing to design the racetrack. But that's not why the racetrack is an odd-thing shaped. The man that owned the adjacent property, Sherman Ramsey, was out of town when Brazington laid out what is now turns 1 and 2. This was going to be a nice symmetrical oval. Ramsey said, now wait a minute. You can't mess with my middle line, which is obviously it's now turn 4. It's turn 2 when the track was built. It's pretty narrow up the racetrack. They're in the middle line. Everybody's happy except the drivers who have to drive
Not in the place. I understand why he's smarter than he used to be, but maybe not with Mike.
That's right. Simply good.
That's right.
Makes you look good. Now you are a problem. I was a problem. Now you're the problem.
Let's get some Chase Elliott radio here.
But they got out of me, like, I loaded it in the can. Get frustrated quite as good as I want. I really carried it okay. Just not a lot of on it. Positivity to one with.
It becomes a little bit confusing from a driver's standpoint that the car is the backslide and the front slide. So you gotta help them diagnose exactly what's going on. It's gonna make your car better. And the thing from the driver's seat, you're very cautious to make your car too loose because if your car is too loose here, what a miserable experience this day is when you can only run fast for a little bit. All of a sudden, the car starts to slide around and you're chasing the back. If you're a little bit tight.
Gilliland 16th overall. And Daniel Hemrick searching for speed here.
We talked so much about the racetrack and the texture and everything that we have. So we were fortunate to have Goodyear start to help us out with some surface imaging. And this is the patch off of turn 2. This one right here. And this lets you see all the different styles of racetracks and the grip levels. So you see smooth is up here. So the higher on the graph, the smoother it is. And Darlington, way down here, Clint. Rough, wore out, and that's really what makes it challenge, for these drivers to figure out. And then you have this patch sitting up here, got a lot more grip. So when you get to the exit of turn 2, you're going to put the throttle back down because the car's going to have more grip than the rest of the track. So appreciate Goodyear helping us out with that imaging. They've got some cool stuff that they do that we'll continue to shed some light on. But always a challenge, and this bump right here at the exit of turn 2 really creates a challenge. You can see all those marks on the ground right there. That's from the rub blocks hitting the ground when the car bottoms out on the racetrack.
Denny Hamlin, as Clint showed, tried that high entry and got himself up into the wall.
Just a kiss, Gav.
Yeah. Barely rubbed the letters off the tires.
Well, he didn't stop. Put it that way. He didn't even pin. He just kept going.
See this Harrison's paint scheme right here on Josh Berry's car? It's a throwback to Rodney's Childers. Old late model car.
Rodney's name is above the window on the passenger side, and he put those stickers on himself when the paint scheme was unveiled to him. He was pretty much at a loss for words. That's a very cool tribute.
Yeah.
As there's Rodney.
See Rodney's late model days there in Victory Lane. Great driver. In his day, learned a lot about the car, drove well.
I think that's what makes him a good crew chief.
I agree. And last year we were getting ready for the All-Star race, and Rodney said, "Well, I think I'm gonna make some laps." He got in the simulator. If he got sick in about 20 minutes.
All right, there, really.
Back out.
Got the right side, came in, made sure everything was okay there. Toe link wasn't big. Toe it's in the front end's right. Go back out here, make some laps, make sure everything's good.
Yeah, and as we watch this in-car, watch the throttle up here in the top. You're going to see him let off, downshift, go right back to partial throttle, try to drive it back up to the wall, give it as much throttle as it'll take until it has enough grip to drive straight up off the corner and give it 100% throttle. You really see that throttle through turns 1 and 2 right here. He's going to upshift to 5th gear, and he's choosing not to downshift. I'll say as the race goes, but you see that partial throttle through the center part of the, barely gets to the wide open. That's what the first advice I got here was from Donnie Allison. He said, "The only advice I have for you, touch the floorboard with the throttle 1 time. That's your goal."
Awesome.
That's good.
Donnie, very good. I had a first now Hall of Fame. This is over. Michael McDowell remains at the top of the board as we turn our attention. Qualifying.
They haven't shown a Darlington Stripes counter today, but there has been quite a few here in this practice session, 20 minutes for each Group A and Group B. Practice has just concluded, though, so we'll get into single car qualifying next right here on the stream. Don't have to go anywhere. You're listening live on KRC, the Goodyear 400. Well, like I said, practice, but now into qualifying for the pole. Billy Lovejoy Designs, thanks for tuning in. Frank Powers, welcome into the stream, as well as Trainskate 1024 and Alan Bingham. 28 likes on the stream. Appreciate everybody that has hit the like button so far. Our goal is to get to 50 likes on the stream, per usual for these live commentary streams for the NASCAR Cup practice and qualifying. So we're halfway through the stream pretty much with practice in the books, and we still got qualifying to go. So be sure to hit that like button so we can get to that goal of 50. Got the Group A list of drivers and the qualifying order for all 18 of them here. No non-chartered entries at the track this weekend, so just 36 of the chartered teams will be qualifying, 18 in each group. Group A will make up the outside lane. Group B will make up the inside lane from position 6 on back. The top 5 will get to requalify for the top 10 and a shot at the pole in round 2. Kaz Grala, Derek Kraus will be the first 2 to go in that order. And then after them in this order will be Eric Jones 3rd, then Ryan Preece, Corey LaJoie will go out after him, then Joey Logano, Justin Haley, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Ty Gibbs. So those will be the first 9 drivers to make a qualifying lap for the Goodyear 400 tomorrow. NASCAR Xfinity Series action later this afternoon, 1:30 p.m. Eastern start time for that one. And tomorrow's Cup Series coverage will begin at 2:30 Eastern time, same start time as we had last weekend. No rain in the forecast, so it won't be a 7.5-hour stream again. But we will have a fun race, I'm sure, tomorrow, as Darlington usually is. 2 very fun racetracks on intermediates back-to-back weeks. Kansas, Darlington. And I know the short track package has been great, but we get to go to North Wilkesboro. That's still great to hear. After the renovations to that racetrack over the last several years, they returned there last season on the old surface. Now we've got the new surface, and different tires will be put into play for next weekend, where there will be a full 50-minute practice session for the Cup Series, and I believe the trucks as well. But as far as Cup Series goes, a lot of coverage next weekend for All-Star Race weekend. I will be streaming all the practice session for the Open, for the Open drivers, the All-Star Race drivers, as well as, of course, qualifying for both the Open and for the All-Star race. And the heat races on Saturday night, I will be doing commentary for. So Friday, I believe, is a lot of the practice and qualifying for everything. And then Saturday is, of course, the truck race. And then the heat races for the Cup Series. We will go live for the heat race Open before the All Star race on Sunday, and of course the main event with the All Star race Sunday night. So a very busy weekend next week as well. 3 nights of streaming. I think we're gonna have pretty much multiple streams every week next weekend, and the same can be said the following weekend of Memorial Day, as of course all 3 races at Charlotte for NASCAR, as well as the Indy 500 on Sunday. I'll be doing commentary for, as well as Larson tries to go for the double.
1959 was their first win here. Southern 500. And look, they're throwing it back. Instead of the normal yellow sidewall lettering, they've got the white sidewall. Sets of tires for this race. That's about the most that we see, aside from the Coke 600. But they've been a big part of this sport for many years. They're giving us the beautiful aerial coverage as well. They're flying the blimp overhead, Mike.
Thanks, Jamie. Yep, the airship and reliable tires for these teams. Yeah, I saw some different philosophies in that practice right there. The 400 drivers, you had 2 in the first group, 2 in the second group. They ran anywhere from 13 to 19 laps and then came in and made a change. On the contrary, all of the Toyotas, except Bubba Wallace, when they hit the racetrack when practice opened, they ran it all the way to the end. So little different philosophies. It could be that the Hendrick cars wanted to make a change and try something, or
Earlier, you gotta have a plan. But for me, if my car was okay, I wanted to come here and just run out. But you see the two premier teams this year, Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing, with all their stats and everything that they have going on, they're pretty even.
They are, but I think it's a tale of this, right? I think this group right here won the short track division, and the other one's really sporty on the 1.5 miles. Now, mind you, this car, that 11, he's been solid on all of them. But the rest of them, as a group, if you have to measure them out, I think the Gibbs cars have the advantage on the short tracks and the Hendrick cars on these intermediate.
And the good news for us, it seems like some of the Fords got caught up.
Yeah.
Chris Buescher last week. I mean, he would legitimately. That's the first race that they've had the speed.
All right, here's my vote for best throwback scheme this weekend. In 1969, Bud Moore had a Trans Am team, Parnelli Jones and George Fulmer.
Parnelli Jones.
And the 16, it said Mustang clubs on the side. Ford was the sponsor, and the car looked just like this. This car is now in the Edelbrock family collection, the one you see there at the bottom.
That's a cool-looking car.
They didn't beat Mark Donohue in the Chevys that year. They did in 1970. And here's the other part of this throwback. Rick Ware's dad raced in the Trans Am Series against Parnelli Jones at Riverside, California in 1970.
All right.
Very cool tie together.
If that has the best paint scheme, don't you think Parnelli Jones has the best race name ever? Does it get any cooler than that? We've had some, Mario Andretti, but Parnelli. You can't suck and have a name Parnelli Jones.
I hope he's watching. His given name is Rufus. Parnell is his middle name, and that's how he became Parnelli.
I can understand why Parnelli.
I can definitely understand not wanting to use Rufus.
Fourth Cup start is first at Darlington. And you see that shipboat on the hood there, that bucking rock that is kind of the symbol of the state of Wyoming.
Sure is. I've rolled through that state too many times, seen that sign.
Well, that's a great sign, but we've got no throwback.
Took back to when I ran this paint scheme several weeks ago.
Last week.
Last week.
Yeah.
It's just not going to score high for me today.
945 from Krause. Now here's a throwback.
Oh my gosh, we didn't have a roof on that car.
Yeah, NASCAR convertible division. Richard Petty's 59 Plymouth. Look at those fins.
Fins are in, baby. What a cool looking car. That's pretty close to like Christine look, isn't it?
Very. So welcome back to Eric Jones, making his first Cup start since his injury at Talladega. He has
fantastic racetrack for him. We all know why he wanted to be back for Darlington. This place is special. Gets it done here now.
Yeah, and what a unique challenge for all these guys. You know, having to go from the end of their race run now into qualifying to give it more throttle than they did at the beginning of confidence.
There is the who's here today to help support Ryan Priest and his United Rentals Mustang on that great paint scheme, very familiar to modified fans.
Yeah, hey, and a throwback means different things to different people, right? It doesn't have to be a nod to an old Cup driver. I like that Ron showing some little late models on there, giving a nod to him. Again, it's a modified, the East Coast modified as we know them, and I love that. That's where he came from. That's his throwback. That's what means something to Ryan Priest.
Yep, that was the championship car, and he is fastest, 29.26. Here's another great throwback. Randy LaJoy ran this car out of his shop, the Joy of Seating, Ford Corey, in the K&N Pro Series, now the Market East Series. They ran for the championship on a budget that was about 1/5 of what the teams they were racing against had to work with, and yet they had a great season. And here's Corey in the Cup Series. Large result. What happened there in 2012?
Well, I believe that's originally what the guidelines were for this particular race weekend. So this one really fits the category of where we are for throwback. So always fun to hear those stories of somebody running their stuff out of their own shop.
Well, okay, this one, they didn't play this week.
No, this one's definitely a fail. I mean, it's a great classic scheme, but it is definitely fail for the throwback week.
In that paint scheme, it's a nod to you, Kevin.
Nope.
Not every team participates. Well, so thank you for playing Joey Logano. It's not the Johnny Rutherford, Indy winning car.
It's boring.
But I tell you what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like that.
Top of the chart, 28.91.
Wow.
Picking up.
Fastest lap today.
Every week, the racetracks. Right. Everybody starts to learn the trend of where the grip level is.
Now, Justin Haley's car from Rick Ware Racing, not so much a throwback, but it honors the 4 fallen officers in that horrible incident in Charlotte, North Carolina, very, very recently. A member of the Charlotte Police Force, 3 fellow officers while trying to apprehend a convicted felon, had a firearm, started shooting from the second floor of the house. 4 killed, several injured. And this paint scheme is a memorial to those fallen officers.
Very proud of that scheme and bringing that and possession. And respect that fellow Carolinians paid on the highway. So it's such a heartfelt moment. They see everybody pulling over.
It's Ricky Stenhouse. This is Mark Martin's 2004 Budweiser shootout car. So there. Hot dog.
I would have expected Clint to drive the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile in. Wouldn't you, Mike? I mean, it fits his persona. Where is it?
Thinking to make a lap?
Absolutely. We could at least drive on the Avery.
Not good arrow. I'll do it right now.
But good speed.
This car's been fast. I'll drive that car.
Second, 29.04.
So no. You don't get to drive this car.
Oh.
You get to drive the
Wienermobile.
The old man and I towed it one time.
Did you?
Yeah.
Really?
Broke down in Kansas. True story.
Well, that'd be even better if you drove it and it broke down.
Joe Gibbs Racing, not too hard into the throwback theme here. Here is Ty Gibbs.
This car was fast in practice. Kids hungry. You imagine winning your first at Darlington, Kev?
Well, 1 top 10 out of the last 3 races. So that was Dover. Needs kind of looking for a partial rebound here. And Gibbs goes to the top.
Wow.
28.77. He's been quite good at making the final round of qualifying this year. We're halfway through.
Ty Gibbs fastest so far, 28.772. Amazing. Joey Logano second quickest with a 28.915, a 29.046 for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in third. Corey LaJoie with a 29.188 is fourth, and Ryan Priest is fifth with a 29.270. Again, the top 5 will requalify for a shot at the pole in round number 2. And position 6 on back for Group A will make up the outside lane for the start of tomorrow's race. Justin Haley currently scored 6th, Eric Jones 7th, Derek Kraus 8th, and Kaz Grella 9th. The next 9 and the final 9 to drive out for Group A's qualifying session in round 1 will be John Hunter Nemechek, then Michael McDowell after him, followed by William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Noah Gregson, Alex Bowman, Christopher Bell, Chris Buescher, and then Martin Truex Jr. will be the last to go. Appreciate everybody tuning in here. Our goal is to get to 50 likes on the stream. We're at 34 right now. So 34 likes. We're 16 away from our goal. Be sure to hit that like button if you guys have not done so yet. Group A qualifying for the Goodyear 400 for tomorrow's NASCAR Cup race. You're listening live on KRC. Right at the start of qualifying, I did put up a poll for you guys to vote as far as who you think will qualify on the poll here today. 9 votes have been casted. 56% of those 9 votes saying Kyle Larson will qualify on the poll. Nobody voting for Denny Hamlin or William Byron yet. They're at 44%. All 3 of those drivers, by the way, are in Group B. William Byron is in Group A. Hamlin and Larson are in Group B. They were some of the fastest in practice. Michael McDowell's fastest overall in practice, and he'll be the second to next car to qualify. Get 1 lap for each of these teams. Fastest lap we saw in practice from McDowell, who was fastest overall, was a 29.022. And already 2 laps of the first 9 qualifiers have been quicker than that. Like 170.9 mile per hour average. And I don't think that lap time is going to hold up at the top because we got a lot more fast cars to go. Now, Gibbs had the fastest Toyota in qualifying. I think he was third or, no, actually he was second overall behind McDowell. So what McDowell will have, he's qualified on the front row a few times this season.
I'm sorry, ties in white. But you see the speed right here. That is the biggest difference in turn 3 and 4 is that speed that he's carrying with that throttle compared to Joey Logano's partial throttle.
It's a Dodge Coronet. Now that is a 1956. That was Lee Petty's car. Look at the screen in the front, in front of the bumper. Wow.
See that car jump sideways over there? She was telling us about.
Yeah, just when it compresses right there in the exit of turn 2, it compresses down in the banking and just shoots you up there. And then that bump is all in one motion as it shoots you up out of the hole right there.
You see that, Mike? Us drivers, we can't talk. We can't explain anything without our hands.
That's okay.
Doing that?
That's okay. Here's the old pirate.
It's Clint.
Right.
It's old one-eyed Willie Pilot right there. Look at him. Here he goes.
Was fastest in practice today.
This car's always fast on qualifying day.
It's off season. Beard
got a little bit loose.
He doesn't want anything to do with it, Mike.
Nothing. To prove that he's fast. There it is. See? Huh? There it is. Told you. And it keeps getting bigger, that number.
Wonder what the parrot did. Which was the punchline of a great David Hobbs joke that I won't tell today.
Broke into that 28-second bracket, Kev.
So McDowell is third. William Byron carrying the Jeff Gordon car of Firestorm scheme.
Remember the lean?
Sadly, yes.
I remember.
Mike, sadly, yes.
Two images of that car.
Great job. I love the flames on the 6 optical.
He's very intimidating.
And this is a true throwback.
Wow.
Damn.
In the automotive finishes, it's now exalted. They spun it off blunt, and Byron is second fast.
Yeah, didn't last week didn't phase him hitting that wall. He wasn't supposed to get to it.
That's Tim Richmond, and that's the car he ran in the Daytona 500 Consolation. This 1982, he won it. And Strix went into that graphic scheme.
Look at the deck lid on that car. Holy cow.
Yep.
You think that thing was a handful?
So Tyler Reddick honoring Tim Richmond. The fast five, 28.62.
Wow.
That's the final lap.
Get it done. Right? So cool to see these drivers just putting it on the line. I mean, you were right on the fence and never checked.
All right, now let's start locking drivers into the fast five with Noah Gregson, who started top in his last two races and finished top
Oh,
10.
he got up against the wall.
That's one reason you don't want to pitch. You just got that car upset when you get those left side tires in the apron. You didn't even turn on with all the throttle that you got to carry. Feel like you just
Full send, full commit out of this kid. We knew they expected that. Been on a roll, handful of confidence, and these guys, they've been so fast for the last month. They'll get that thing fixed up and get up through the field.
So that locks Tyler Reddick into the fast five. Jimmy Johnson's scheme. Lowe's needs what's Smallman's.
my goodness. Mike, Henrik Motorsport says won this week
I think so.
before the race even starts. What a
Absolutely.
great job.
I'd say the boss.
Jimmy Johnson thanking Rick and Alex for this honor. He said, really quite touching to see that car out there.
One hell of a run they had.
Oh, it's just his car. So now, something about it. And that will lock Ty Gibbs into the final round.
He ruined our hopes for 5 years in a row, man. 5 years in a row.
Christopher Bell won the pole at Kansas this week. They are honoring 100 years of.
This car has a lot of long run speed in practice. Happy with this car. Put this thing out front starting the race. They're going to be dangerous. It's exactly what's going to happen here, isn't it?
This will bump Michael McDowell out of the fast five. And it will lock Byron into the final round. 2 spots left. Here is Chris Buescher. 3 top 10 starts this year. 2 runner-up finishes.
Another one on a roll. Kevin, we've been waiting for these RF. Man, that was so close. Almost got in the fence, pulled it right back off there. Never checked. These guys have been building and building. So close. Last weekend, I look for these guys to punch their ticket basically soon.
Well, they finally got the speed that we've expected out of them all year, and shows up in qualifying. It showed up in the race last week.
What's changed with these Fords?
Well, we heard some rumors about some engines maybe being in these cars, but it's a great lap by Chris Buescher.
He locks himself in, and the final spot is between Christopher Bell and Martin Truex Jr. Truex has 6 top 10 starts this season, with the best of at Martinsville. And he is going back to the Moody Blue scheme of his 2016 Southern 500 winning car.
Now, getting us back to Chris Buescher in that 17 car, the first drive we've seen that did not shift, carried that RPM, carried that speed, did not shift whatsoever.
Oh, thanks, Larry.
He touched it, Kevin. Never checked. It stayed in the green. Spell out. I thought that was good when he ran that lap. No, sir. Out of here.
3 Toyotas, 1 Ford, and 1 Chevy will advance from Group A qualifying, led by Chris Buescher. Mr. 1.
All right, so Buescher fastest so far in qualifying at 28.604. He will join Tyler Reddick, Ty Gibbs, William Byron, and Martin Truex Jr., I should say. Truex got the final spot there. So Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick, Ty Gibbs, William Byron, Martin Truex Jr. Those are going to be your fast 5. Truex was actually 3rd quickest there, and then Gibbs. Byron was the last driver to make his way in. So Byron, one of the voting options in the poll, and he will have a shot to re-qualify for a shot at the poll as well. Again, you can vote for who you think will qualify on the poll today in the poll that is open in the chats. No votes for Denny Hamlin right now. Out of 17, a lot of Hamlin haters out there, I'm sure, but interesting. 39 likes on the stream. We are 11 away from our goal of 50. So be sure to hit that like button if you guys have not done so yet. Group B about to qualify. The first 9 that will is going to be Harrison Burton, then Zane Smith, Daniel Hemrick, Flores, Carson Hocevar, Chase Briscoe, and Josh Berry. Those will be the first 9. Dan Bauer's voting for Byron. 40 likes now. Appreciate that, everybody. So with this being Darlington Throwback Weekend, I showed off a throwback diecast during the truck race last night at the end of Stage 2. There's no stage breaks necessarily here, but got a diecast showing for you guys as of right now. This is the one I showed last night. So this was a 2018 Ryan Blaney Southern 500 throwback scheme. It was a throwback to his dad's scheme in the Jasper 77, Dave Blaney, who most notably at the Darlington Raceway finished third behind Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch in what was the closest finish in NASCAR history until just a week ago. Here is the Jasper 77 car from that season. So you have the Blaney car right here. Here's the Jasper 77, and you can see the great detail in the paint scheme. Obviously, Duracell was the scheme on the car for Blaney, Ryan Blaney, that is, that weekend versus Jasper, but both Fords here. This is a Ford Taurus, obviously, versus a Ford Fusion in 2018, but the paint scheme looks identical. Here's the Dave Blaney 77 scheme. Here's the Ryan Blaney number 12. I mean, the only thing that looks different really is the hood, where you see the Jasper logos kind of slanted across the hood. Duracell is not, as kind of straightforward. That's really the only difference in the paint scheme. You look at the side skirt of it. I guess the Menards on the side's a little different. The more I look at it, it is a little different, but there is great detail in it still nonetheless. So it's kind of cool that I have both of these die casts. Being a Blaney fan, had to get a Dave Blaney diecast at some point in time. This is the one I wanted. And I actually found that at Bristol before the dirt race, I believe. Or no, actually, you know what? I might have gotten that at Bristol last season. If I didn't get it at Bristol last season, it would have been the year before during the dirt race. I know I've had the Blaney diecast for a long time. I actually bought this Ryan Blaney diecast at the NASCAR Hall of Fame when I went there in 2019, I want to say. This was one of the first diecasts I had bought of a 1/24 scale. So Harrison Burton qualified. Meanwhile, while I was showing off the diecast, his lap time is a 29.194, a 29.050 for Zane Smith. He went out second, and Daniel Hemrick is currently on the racetrack. Hemrick looking to set the fast lap of the first three to qualify for Group B. And again, position 6 on back for Group B will make up the inside row for the start of tomorrow's race. Top 5 will get to requalify for a shot at the pole in round 2. Smith will not get to the top of the charts, or will remain at the top of the charts, I should say. Hemrick is not going to get to the top. Austin Dillon now on the racetrack. A Dale Earnhardt Bass Pro Shops throwback scheme from the 1998 All-Star race is what Dillon's got going for him this weekend. Of course, Bass Pro Shops is on the car. Pretty nice scheme, I'd say, for this weekend to make this throwback scheme even that much more authentic. Dillon's going to get to the top of the charts of the first 4 qualifiers in Group B. It'll be a 28.934 for Dillon. And up next is Austin Cindric, who is not running a throwback scheme here this weekend. I don't believe any of the Penske cars will be running throwbacks. It's just tough. You'd hope that every team would run a throwback scheme every weekend. Penske is not, and as me being a Ryan Blaney and a Penske fan, it stings. I'm not going to lie. They have done it in the past. I don't know why they didn't do it this year, though. Obviously, they've done it in the past. I just showed this diecast off like not that long ago. But yeah, not doing it this year, it looks. Cindric will not get to the top of the charts. Will be second behind Austin Dillon. So the two Austins at the top for now. 28.985. 2004 Adrian Fernandez IndyCar throwback scheme for Daniel Suarez this weekend. Not NASCAR throwback schemes for this weekend. Quaker State, the sponsor for Suarez this weekend as well. Suarez right up close to that wall off turn 4. I've seen a few drivers get very close Notice Truex Byron towards the late going of Group A's practice session. This is a fun one. Carson Hocevar with a tribute to a vintage police car. That's his throwback scheme. Oh, we might have gotten against the wall there in turn one. That was close to call for sure. If he had actually hit the wall or not. They don't have a siren on top of the car this weekend, but I'm sure, knowing Carson, if he had the choice to get the siren on top of the car, he would have chosen to have it. Still a good lap, though, whether he got into the wall or not in turns 1 and 2. He's going to be second fastest with a 28.902. And up next now is Chase Briscoe in the 14. And this is a sprint car throwback scheme for Chase Briscoe. Throwback to a 1976 dirt sprint car. I do have the sound muted right now, so I'm not sure exactly whose to be exact, but knowing Tony Stewart, no surprise that we've got a sprint car. Briscoe to the top of the charts, 28.833. I don't think any of these lap times are going to hold, though. They all would have not made it to the top 5 from the Group A drivers. This group is more heavily stacked in the back half of the group than the front half. And now we have Josh Berry on the racetrack. Berry was in the green at least to get into the top 5 before getting into the braking zone at turn 3. Still slipping up all the way through 3 and 4. Race car maybe a little on the tight side of things. Not going to be a great lap for Berry. 8th with a 29.115. And that is going to finish out the first half of Group B's qualifying session. Next 9 in this order will be Todd Gilliland, then Bubba Wallace, Brad Keselowski, Ross Chastain, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Larson will finish things out for Group B's Round 1 qualifying session. 42 likes on the stream. Again, be sure to hit the like button if you have not done so yet. Subscribe for more NASCAR content. On the road to 6,000 subs on the channel, 10,000 overall. Maybe we can get there before the end of the year. Jermaine Granger Jr., thanks for tuning in. Imagine getting turned like Carson Hocevar in a police car throwback. Just pit maneuver somebody this weekend. That'd be hilarious. Oh, man. That'd be... It'd also be even more fitting if it was like on a or not a diecast, but on a paint scheme of somebody that has like an old paint scheme that would be like from the moonshining, driver introduction NASCAR days. If it was like one of those paint schemes that he ends up turning this weekend because he's in a police car, that would be hilarious. That would be throwing it way, way back. You couldn't throw it back any further if something like that happened this weekend. So we have our next 9 to go. We'll take a quick ad break, continue our live commentary of the Goodyear 400 Bush Pole qualifying on KRC. Waiting for him to come back from this commercial break still. Full screen on Fox Sports 1. I believe the race tomorrow will also be on Fox Sports 1. So once again, FS1 for tomorrow's Cup race, as well as today's Xfinity Series race. Our start times for the remaining streams this weekend, again, 1:30 p.m. Eastern will be the start of our Xfinity Series race coverage this afternoon. 2:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow afternoon will be the start of our Cup Series race coverage. Napoleon Dynamite.
Randy, the only person that I can remember Napoleon Dynamite. This was his model car back in 2015. Slightly different number, but the same stuff. Very, very close. I give this one a B. Very good. Good.
Anybody who participates is not getting a worse grade than a B, so good job. Downshift as well. I haven't heard anybody that I've recognized not use a downshift right there, like we heard Todd Gill and Chris Buescher talk about.
Fantastic lap. It's just, he has 3 top 10 stars this year. Let's go back to this last group and what it took to make this final round of 5. William Myron, 5th slot in 28.79. So just keep your eye on it. Obviously, these guys should pick up as we get to the faster cars. So from practice, right? That's what that means. Handful of wheels above there. The front of his car looks like a Bill Elliott McDonald's car, and the back of his car looks like the Mac. It's as close as I could get. Throwback on that one. Still building. Had a good, better 3 and 4. Oh yeah, good lap. Wallace, top of the chart. I'd say that makes it.
I think that's going to be.
His teammate Reddick was in there.
Now, Brad Keselowski throws back to the racing GT that raced in Japan. I think he was between that and a jump force design, maybe one of the Dan Gurney Castrol cars, but Brad had 3 diecast models to choose from. He chose this one for his throwback. For me, it always goes back to John Force. Oh, but this is very well done. Oh, absolutely. Love it. That's what it's all about, though. The memories. All right. How do you remember this paint scheme? Okay, I didn't remember it until he picked up the diecast car and showed us what it was, but it works. All right, Ross Chastain. Now, this is a Busch scheme, the turn of the century. And hats off to Busch. I've been waiting all year to find welcome race fan banners in the vicinity of a racetrack, and the Busch people have done it here in Darlington. Out in the area, there's a lot of welcome race fans banners helping to create attention and interest in what's going on here this weekend. Well done.
There's certain areas that do it better than others, and this area for the beer brands, whether it was Budweiser, Busch Light, whatever it is, the activation in Darlington is always high level.
Well done.
Now that 78 is going to be close.
He's third. All right, we're going to start locking in here. Ryan Blaney.
Blaney was into the fence pretty hard in practice. Had to.
I don't think Chastain's time holds.
It's not a throwback scheme. I'm going to give them a gentle for years and years and years. I'll give him a pass on this one.
Yeah, I think John Menard's been around it long enough to all of his cars to be a throwback because he's kept them so much the same.
Motorsports alive for a long time. He supported whether it's the ARCA series, the Xfinity series, Cup series. He's been in it a long time. Indy series. John Menard deserves it. Loves racing.
Kyle Busch started top 5 in his last 3 races, including the pole at Dover.
The throttle down there, Kevin.
See that bump and have to jerk the wheel, but I like that. Into turn 1, downshift, back to the throttle, drive it up the hill.
Had to check out of it here. It's going to need a lot off the fours, keeping it in the greens, getting bigger. Great job. Huge 3 and 4.
That puts him in 4th right now. And that will now lock Brad Keselowski as well as Bubba Wallace into the final round. And Chase Elliott, that Dale Earnhardt Jr. scheme, 8 top 10 starts this year. Outside the Hall of Richmond.
Set made on both of those cars right there, Chastain and Busch. That's going to be one of those guys I think might be knocked out because of that.
Well, it didn't take long to start eliminating those 80s.
Bringing it on the bubble here. Lost a little time through the middle of getting back to the throttle in the middle of 3 and 4, Kev.
Well, I think it's going to be, yeah, that's not going to get it. I think the reason that it slowed down so much is he didn't carry that momentum all the way to the top of the racetrack. We talked about that earlier and having to carry that momentum.
So that locks Chastain in with Briscoe still on the bubble. Here is Denny Hamlin.
Well, I was wrong about Chastain not making it.
Phoenix. September of 2018.
going back to Elliott for just a second, it's like he just overslowed the car a little bit there, and he went into 3, was floating right with the bubble there, and then lost it.
Well, that's definitely something that you get away with the old car running through the middle like that. But with the momentum that you have to carry mid corner speed, wow, Denny Hamlin just did that. Carried a lot of momentum.
So Hamlin, no break in turn 1 and 2, a little in 3 and 4, locks himself in. It is down to Kyle Busch. It's the Kyle and Kyle show. And Kyle Larson for the final spot. And
You saw him. You saw how much better he got to the green flag right there. Got through 3 and 4 really good.
This paint scheme gets the nod for me. It wins best in show, best in class. Rick Hendrick told me they're bringing back the entire 5 championship team. Terry will walk out with the driver with Kyle, and will be wearing his driver uniform that matches his car. Pretty cool, huh?
And he will be in the final round.
They didn't even mention he got the wall off turn 4.
So Denny Hamlin is disqualified in as we look at the that will.
Yeah, they didn't even mention that Larson scraped the wall quite a bit there off turn 4. I thought he was going to miss out on the top 5 because of it. He ended up timing in 4th. He was right there with Hamlin up until then. Luckily, had a good enough of a first 3/4 to 4/5 of a lap that the wall scrapage there off turn 4 didn't affect him too much. He was still about 1/10 of a second off of Hamlin's fast lap, which was a 28.650. Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Larson, and Ross Chastain are the fast 5 from Group B, and they will requalify in descending order of how they finished in Group, or I should say, every driver in round 2 will requalify in descending order of how they finished in round 1. Group A drivers, though, will go first. So those fast 5 will go first, and then the fast 5 from Group B will go after the fact. Asked you guys in the chat, only lagging here and there at work. Yeah, let me know in the chat if there has been any stream lagging today. I noticed like OBS will disconnect and then reconnect for me at pure randomness. So I might have to fix the settings in between streams. So let me know on that. I'm not going to be able to mess with it at all before the end of this stream, but before the Xfinity race later, I'll make sure that that gets fixed. It's connected. It's real quick. It'll be like a 1 or 2 second thing, but I'm wondering if it like actually lags on your end or not. Because on my end, it doesn't seem like it lags, but I just want to make sure. Better safe than sorry. Appreciate everybody tuning in here on this early Saturday, now afternoon. Started things in the morning about an hour and a half ago with this live commentary stream. So once again, a reminder that I did it again there. But just a reminder, we will have NASCAR Xfinity Series action again later on. Practice is concluded in this stream. And round 1 for qualifying for Group A and Group B has just concluded, so we just have to requalify the top 10. Still see the running order on screen for who will line up on the inside lane of tomorrow's race from 6th on back. So we'll requalify the top 10 here shortly. And this is not the order in which those 10 drivers will requalify. Again, the Group A drivers will go first, then the Group B drivers. It's just numerical order for right now. And it might stay that way. Chris Buescher was fastest in Group A qualifying, so he'll be the 5th driver to roll out.
Take off. He knew he was going to get punched in the head. I promise. I'm not going to get punched in the head, but that was a very interesting post race conversation. They pulled us into the NASCAR trailer. That was when I was getting our invitation. We had a very fiery bunch of guys that just wanted to fight.
Scrappy.
Yeah, and so we went up in the trailer, and Kyle and I had been in the trailer a lot together over instances. But that night, I'll never forget it, because that was one of those nights that Joe Gibbs and Richard had to go to the trailer as well, because they were supposed to be in charge of their drivers. And Joe Gibbs said something, and I said something back, and Joe actually wrote me a letter.
You got a letter?
I got a few letters through the years.
Still have it?
I don't have that one. I have the letter that Carl Edwards wrote me after I said something off of at Talladega. He left a note on my plane that said something. Didn't appreciate this. Love, Carl. I kept that one.
It's a terrible story, Kevin. I want to know what something means.
Yeah.
Happy Hour podcast, 2 new episodes every week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Kyle Busch will climb out, and 10 drivers will run for the Busch Light pole, led by Chris Buescher.
All right, so again, getting ready here for qualifying for the final round. 10 drivers will re-qualify to make up the top 10 starting spots for tomorrow's race at Darlington. And this is our second of 4 live commentary streams this weekend. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't yet. 44 likes on the stream. Our goal is to get to 50. So we're 6 likes away from our goal for this stream. So again, be sure to hit that like button. And I will close the poll now that is open in the chat for who you think will qualify out in front. And it looks like 46% of you, of the 24 votes, say that somebody other than Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, and William Byron will qualify on the poll. Interesting. Hamlin quickest in the second group. William Byron was actually the 5th quickest in Group A, so he'll be the first to qualify. Larson was 4th quickest after he had scraped the wall a bit off turn 4. Kept his foot in it and was able to bring it home in the top 5. Can't make that mistake here, though, if you're going to go for the pole. Chris Buescher had the fastest lap overall in qualifying from not only Group A, but just overall of the 10 that will re-qualify for the pole. So he may be one to watch. A lot of coverage again next weekend for NASCAR Cup Series action at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Have a lot of practice and qualifying streams coming your way next weekend. We got 2 separate qualifyings for the Open and the actual All-Star Race drivers who are locked into the show. Separate practice sessions for both the All-Star Race drivers and the... Well, I think they might be all in one practice session. I know they qualify differently, and the reason why they might be in the same practice session is because it's 50 minutes with the new repave at North Wilkesboro Speedway. So we will get a full practice session next week. Obviously, we have the Open and the All-Star Race on Sunday, and there's also heat races to set the starting lineup up for the All-Star Race. Qualifying just sets up the heat race lineup on Friday. So, yeah, you got full practice session on Friday, qualifying for the Open and the All-Star Race on Friday. Then Saturday would be the heat races for the All-Star Race plus the truck race stream, so 2 streams there. And then we will have, of course, 2 streams on Sunday with the Open and then the All-Star Race right after. But those will be on 2 separate streams on Sunday, as there will be probably an hour to 2 hour break period in between those races. Still at 44 likes. Again, be sure to hit that like button if you haven't done so yet. And get to that goal of 50 here as we're rounding up qualifying at Darlington.
Making the walk down pit road, made it to the second round. I saw you get out of your car after the first round, and you literally sprinted down to your pit box. So things were you looking at? What'd you learn?
Well, Jamie, my car felt really good, and I was like, man, that's got to be a pole lap, and it wasn't. So you're like, what did I miss? And I knew I got into turn 1 pretty hard, I just got a little too hard. Qualifying here is so difficult because when you finish the race runs, the car really doesn't have any grip, and it's kind of like flying time. It's got a ton of grip, and you can get it all. And the second round will be even more challenging because everything you learned from the first round, you kind of throw it out the window because the tires are worn and the car's gonna drive a little worse. So the big challenge, and I tell this to people all the time, Jamie, that maybe compares to 41 or IndyCar is like, oh, it's just an oval. What's so hard? Like the track and the tires are changing every lap, every second, and you're constantly adapting. You're constantly like, all right, that was too much or that was too little, and qualifying's a perfect example of that.
Okay, so once you get out of the fire suit, after you celebrate maybe getting the pole, we don't know, you're going to put the other suit on, go upstairs, you're going to call the Xfinity Series race. What are we going to expect here? I mean, the racing here is incredible. We saw in the truck race last night.
Yeah, the last few races here in the Xfinity Series have been awesome. Can't wait to get up in the booth. Rip Joey got on a little bit. He's probably watching right now. I know he watches everything. So Joey, I'm ready for you. But it's always good to be able to throw that. And that series, the racing against the wall, rubbing up against the wall with drivers that are just starting to learn the track, very limited practice. That's going to be a great show.
All right, well, I feel like I can say this. The Keezer, 3-time pole setter here at Darlington.
Really? Like that. I didn't even know that.
That's the first time he's heard it.
He's heard it before, but he chose to ignore us.
Oh, okay.
That's from the producers, not me.
Not the worst. Not bad others.
Yeah, it's not. It only rhymes with geezer. It's not associated with geezer. He's the geezer. Just ask Rich Gross, one of our producers. All right, so is that David Green, NASCAR official with Kyle Busch, and
Yeah, and what they're measuring right there is the angle of those seat belts, and there's a specific window that they want those seat belts to fit in when they're all latched down. So David Green, you see him in the door right there.
And this is going back to what we learned with Eric Jones.
That's
what
right.
We just covered with Eric Jones.
Yeah, and I think a lot of I think a lot of the talk is just the angle of Eric Jones's belts and everything that happened with his injury. So very proactive in this particular situation with NASCAR and Kyle Busch making sure that his angle of the top of those belts is right, because it's very important when you start hitting stuff hard.
Yeah, and you saw him, starting to measure. That's literally what he was measuring. David Green grabbed that tape measure and measured the angle.
Yeah. And David Green, former Busch Series champion, now.
All right, so I was wondering if that was the same David Green, by the way, and it is. As you heard, former Xfinity Series champion. William Byron is the first to hit a lap for qualifying. As I mentioned a little bit ago, he is on the racetrack right now trying to go for the pole. It was one of the possible voting options. Only 12% of the 24 votes voted for Byron to qualify out in front. He'll at least be out in front for a little bit, being the first of these final 10. Kyle Busch was the first, though, the final 10 a couple weeks ago at Dover. And he was able to put up a good lap, and it actually held. So, not going to count Byron out of it here. Works his way up off turn 4. It doesn't seem like he was as close to the wall off the exit of turn 4 as what he was in his first lap back in round 1. 29.030 for Byron. Quite a bit of a drop-off, which obviously we're going to see for every driver in this round. There's going to be a huge drop-off from their lap in round 1 to round 2, and that is because of the cycle on the tires at this very, very worn-out and abrasive racetrack when it comes to tire wear. Ty Gibbs is up next. Great lap going for Gibbs so far. And he will top Byron's lap time of 29.014 for Gibbs. And now on the racetrack is Martin Truex Jr. in the 19 as he works his way off turn 4 to begin his lap. So having to top his teammate Ty Gibbs at the top. 5 Toyotas qualifying in the top 10 this weekend. 3 Chevys and 2 Fords. Both the Fords for RFK Racing. Both 2311 Toyotas are also in this Fast 10. The only Joe Gibbs Toyota not to be in the top 10 alongside Truex, Gibbs, and Hamlin was Christopher Bell. And Truex was slowest of these 3 drivers. He had gotten into the wall in turns 1 and 2. hurt his lap off the start. It was very similar to how Noah Gragson got up against the wall in round 1. And you're pushing just as hard as you were in that first group, but the tires are going to be a lot older. So it's going to be a lot harder to try to replicate any sort of a lap time anywhere close to the lap time you would have ran in round 1. 2-1, he's now 4th of 4, and that's, unless somebody else gets against the wall or spins or something of that nature, Truex will probably end up qualifying 10th. Tyler Reddick just finished his qualifying lap, a 28.906 for Reddick. He is now to the top of the charts, getting the best of Gibbs. Chris Buescher, who was fastest in his group, in Group A, in qualifying, is now on the racetrack. He was also 3rd fastest overall in practice. Also would have been 3rd fastest overall in Group A's practice session. It's a great car here this weekend, coming off a runner-up at Kansas last weekend. Buescher will not get the pole. Reddick will remain at the top. Buescher will time in 2nd fastest of a 29.005. And so our first 5 qualifiers in round 2 to requalify for the Busch Light pole at Darlington for the Goodyear 400 is concluded. The final 5 drivers in this order to go out for a qualifying lap would end up being, I believe, we'll start things off with Ross Chastain, then Kyle Larson. After Larson, I believe, is going to be Bubba Wallace, then Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin. Hamlin was the fastest in the group. I might have gotten Keselowski and Wallace split-flop, but I know it'll be Chastain Larson to start things off here. And Hamlin will finish things off, that I can guarantee. 46 likes on the stream. We are now 4 likes away from our goal of 50. So again, goal is 50. Our Xfinity Series race coverage here today as well. Be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe for more NASCAR content. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss the start of that stream. But again, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time later today. Our Cup Series coverage tomorrow at 2:30 Eastern Time will begin there. We'll take our final ad break and continue and finish out qualifying here shortly for the Goodyear 400, tomorrow's race at Darlington, listening on KRC. Fortunately, we did not get to our goal of likes last night during the truck race. Kind of no surprise when you consider the fact that the race ended at, our stream ended at 12:30 Eastern Time, roughly 2.5 hour rain delay. The race didn't start till just after 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So definitely a late night, quick turnaround into an early morning. So probably another reason why we don't have maybe as many people watching this stream as usual, but hope to see a lot of you watching now, back for the Xfinity and Cup race coverage yet through the rest of the weekend. Big week last week on the channel as we ended up getting a new stream record for this season for the most viewed and most liked live commentary stream of the year. That took place during the Cup race at Kansas last weekend. Greatly appreciated. It's hard to have the most viewed streams outside of the Daytona 500. And we were able to do that. Obviously, with the 500 ran on a Monday, I kind of figured that we could beat that at some point this season. It took the closest finish in NASCAR history, probably the best race of the season, to beat that, but we did end up beating it. And great to see all of you guys back again here this weekend and the weekends going forward.
It's from break, less break with the and it's wide open throttle. Clear throttle right here. So those 3 little things just gave it more mile per hour. 3, 3, and 4.
All right, 5 drivers to go for the Busch Light pole, and here is Ross Chastain, winner of the tiebreaker with Kyle Busch based on car owner points. They had the exact same time to the 1,000th of a second in round 1.
That's why every point matters. You never know when it's going to rear its ugly head.
I like the fact that Ross didn't use the apron in turn 1 like he did in round. Got through turns 1 and 2 pretty good.
I like the green. The lower right, lost it a little bit. Off the floor, got loose. We're in trouble, Kevin. Turning the wrong way.
Got loose, and it was hard to tell right there, but it looked like he might have got the wall a little bit, too.
He got loose in practice the same way.
29.09 for Chastain. That's a fall off of 0.3 of a second. Here's Tim Bonnie.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. I was going to say that. Mike Joy took the words right from my mouth.
sitting on pit road compared to how they did in the first round, trying to go 2.5, 3 tenths slower. You see Kyle walking at the top of the as well.
29.03. It's a little less than 0.3 of a second fall off.
All right, so Larson fifth on the board with a 29.034. I don't know how much him getting up against the wall off turn 4 in his qualifying lap in round 1 might have affected him, but I can't imagine it would have helped. Lap time for the driver just before that, Ross Chastain, after he maybe had hit the wall during his lap. It was close to tell whether he did or not. He was tracking in the green until he got in the middle of 3 and 4, but a 29.098 for Chastain. He is currently 6th. 3 drivers still to qualify. Brad Keselowski on the racetrack right now, just finishing up. It's going to be close between him and Reddick, and it looks like second fastest for BK. So Brad Keselowski at 28.924. Only 2 drivers have ran 28-second lap times in this second round of qualifying. Reddick and Keselowski. But again, Keselowski second. 2 more drivers to go. Both Toyotas trying to take down another Toyota. Bubba Wallace will be the first to try to go for the pole. So far, he is in the green through turns 1 and 2. 3 and 4, Reddick's lap was really, really good. Wallace kind of starts to the bottom. Diamonds the corner off. Didn't get up against the wall, but diamonding the corner off by entering lower hurt him. Reddick stayed around the top a lot longer. And Wallace goes from tracking in the green to falling all the way to, looks like 7th. 29.068 for Bubba Wallace. And now Denny Hamlin, who will be the last driver to qualify. It's between Reddick and Hamlin for the pole. Hamlin was one of the voting options. Bit loose getting into turn 1 on the lap for Hamlin. He's 2 to 0.03 of a second off Reddick's time as he works his way to turn 3. It is looking good for Reddick. Hamlin gets a little wobbly again in the center of the corner, and that lost him. And Hamlin is falling down the leaderboard in a hurry after being the fastest driver in his group. In round 1, he will end up being 7th overall for the start of tomorrow's race. Hamlin with a 29.045 qualifies 7th. Tyler Reddick is your pole winner here at Darlington this weekend. He's got the throwback mustache to go with it. You'll get to hear from Reddick. A 28.906 was his lap time. Brad Keselowski was started outside of the front row with a 28.924.
Stash, I don't know. What do you think?
Certainly not. For sure.
The speed's in the stash.
To Richmond, throwback money line, Toyota Camry is going to be starting on the pole. It really does seem like both the 2211 cars are strong. I did run a lot of practice, traffic in practice. In this week to be able to have that kind of qualifying effort. It was tough, so we didn't lack any effort in regards to trying to find ways to have a good week this week.
So you'll lead the field to green tomorrow, 400 miles. Take us through tomorrow's setup, what we're about to see.
Well, I'm just excited to be, I've qualified good here in the past, but being able to choose the first pit stall, if you have a good initial start, set the tone of the race. Our car's going to be in clean air, should be able to manage the balance good too. So really excited for all that. Obviously, we got to have a good start. It'll start with that tomorrow, but certainly we qualify good here. It helps the pit selection, and it just helps you have a better day for start to finish.
All right, congratulations. Tyler Reddick gets the pole here, Mike.
He becomes the 9th different driver to win a pole this season.
Yeah, 9th different driver. I think Larson and McDowell are the only ones with multiple pole awards so far this season. Keselowski a little frustrated with his lap being second. Margin between Reddick and Keselowski at the top, 18 one-thousandths of a second. Little over 100th of a second overall. So Tyler Reddick, congratulations, getting the Busch Light pole, his first of the season. 9 different drivers, you heard from Mike Joy, to get a pole so far this year. Brad Keselowski, second quickest overall. He'll be on the front row as well. It'll be the 6th career front row start for Keselowski at Darlington. Chris Buescher, his teammate, will line up on the inside of row 2 with Ty Gibbs to the outside. Row 3 will be William Byron and Kyle Larson, the Hendrick Chevrolets. Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace will be in row 4, then Ross Chastain. So that's going to finish up our qualifying stream. Again, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time later this afternoon will be the start of our NASCAR Xfinity Series race coverage a little over an hour from now. And our NASCAR Cup coverage tomorrow will begin in a little over 24 hours at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Hope to see you for that one also. Two great races still to come at this very great racetrack. Glad that you guys tuned in here this morning into the early afternoon for practice qualifying. And again, thanks for staying up late for the NASCAR truck race last night. Congratulations, as mentioned, to Tyler Reddick for winning the pole for tomorrow's race. And also, thank you for hitting the like button on the stream as we did get to our goal of 50 likes. We are at 53 as we speak right now, right at the end of the stream. So appreciate that. We'll try to get to our next goal of 100 during the next live commentary stream, which will be the Xfinity race. Again, a little over an hour from now. Hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.